Nathan Millard is an entrepreneur and advisor focused on sustainable development and agribusiness. He builds partnerships that address food security and long-term agricultural resilience. Thank you, Nathan, for your time and for being with us here today.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. So, as introduced, my name is Nathan Millard. I'm the founder and CEO of G3 Partners. For the last 15 years, we've been supporting young tech companies with international expansion, investment, go-to-market. And in the last 3 to 4 years, we've exclusively supported agri-food businesses with the same, with a particular focus in the GCC, Middle East, and Africa. And I'll explain briefly a little bit later why that geographical focus is important for us. But for now, I'll dive straight into the presentation. So today I'd like to share a perspective on sustainable agri-food systems through the lens of MSMEs. This perspective focuses less on technology and more on the organizations that enable technology to create real impact. My central argument is that food security extends well beyond agricultural production, and it depends on integrated systems. And I believe that MSMEs are the primary mechanism through which innovation can reach farmers, businesses, and also consumers. So the food security narrative is often viewed through the lens of production challenges, but I believe that it is fundamentally actually a systems challenge. Producing more food obviously is important, but food security also depends on water, energy, infrastructure, market access, logistics, and also supply chain resilience. And we have seen this repeatedly over the last 5 to 10 years, from COVID initially disrupting logistics around the world, to recent conflicts in the Middle East, disrupting energy and fertilizer quite specifically, to also post-harvest losses, preventing food from actually reaching consumers even when it has been produced. What we've learned is that if one part of the system fails, the whole system can also become affected. So SMEs already form the backbone of agri-food production, processing, and distribution, and that's a theme that I've seen coming up in many presentations so far today. But as yet, the sector still remains under-recognized and undercapitalized for the importance that it has at a global level. Thousands of AgTech solutions already exist globally, but relatively few solve real priority problems, demonstrate commercial outcomes, and scale successfully. So the challenges here are on both sides of the table. And what our research suggests is that the opportunities often do not rely on inventing more technology, but rather focus on commercializing more of the innovation that already exists. And this is particularly true in emerging markets, which can import technology, methods, and solutions from elsewhere in the world where they are already validated and commercialized. So while agri-food can be viewed as a global system that affects all of us, opportunity can look very different depending on where you are or where you operate. In highly developed agricultural markets, the focus is often moving the needle from 9 to 10 through AI, robotics, and precision agriculture. However, in many emerging markets, where I primarily operate, the biggest opportunities are often moving the needle from 0 to 1. Better harvesting, irrigation, storage, Traceability and protected agriculture can generate transformational gains from relatively simple interventions. And this is where MSMEs can play a significant role. So as I've noted, agriculture is highly regional and localized in many ways. For example, water scarcity dominates in the GCC. Salinity is a major issue across much of North Africa and also Southern Europe. Mechanization and post-harvest infrastructure remain some of the biggest constraints across sub-Saharan Africa. And very recently, climate resilience has become increasingly critical in Southern Africa. And I believe the lesson here is that successful innovation starts with truly understanding local constraints rather than applying generic solutions while still being aware of what has been proven elsewhere in the world and learning from what is available and transferring knowledge into developing and emerging markets. And this brings me on to the next point, that increasingly agricultural challenges are very interconnected. And as such, solving one problem often creates value elsewhere in the value chain. For example, improving aggregation and cold chain infrastructure can reduce waste while also improving farmer incomes. Agrivoltaics, which is being rolled out across the GCC where I operate, can simultaneously generate electricity while also protecting crops and improving water efficiency. This type of systems thinking allows us to create multiple benefits from a single intervention. And by taking a systems approach, we can learn that integration compounds value over time. While individual technologies can create value on their own, I would encourage MSMEs to consider that integrated systems can compound that value. For example, solar power, water storage, sensors, irrigation infrastructure, and farmer advisory all deliver benefits independently, but when they're integrated, they improve productivity, resilience, resource efficiency, and commercial performance. And as the agri-food sector continues to develop, integration can become the difference between a successful technology and a successful business model. And that's an important differentiation because we see time and time again that technology that works is not necessarily commercially viable. We're also learning, we're learning fast that wasted resources represent unrealized commercial value. Currently, up to 1/3 of global food production is either lost or wasted before it reaches customers. Agriculture consumes approximately 70% of global freshwater withdrawals. However, only around 20% of cropland is irrigated, while producing roughly 40% of global food. And what we're finding is that sometimes the greatest returns do not always come from producing more. Often, they come from capturing value that is already being lost. And again, that's an important distinction, that people often talk about increasing food production all the time, but often if you're able to capture value that is already being created, that is the most immediate opportunity. So diving a little deeper into the efficiency theme, On this slide is an example of system thinking that I've personally been involved in for some time with this particular system, which is a recirculating aquaculture system, or RAS system, that is being developed and tested in the GCC. Rather than viewing a RAS system simply as a fish farm, we are viewing it through the lens as the basis for a food production platform that extends beyond the primary output of fish. RAS systems already manage water, nutrients, and cooling, and we're exploring how those resources can also support adjacent greenhouse production, improving asset utilization, capital efficiency, and resilience. The point that we're particularly interested in is if we can capture the cooling function of the RAS system in order to efficiently cool a greenhouse next door. In this case, the objective shifts from optimizing individual assets to optimizing an integrated biological production system. Now, while some of these systems are perhaps beyond the capital capacity of many MSMEs, the concept is important and can be applied really at any level. The project I just described is based out of the GCC, as I mentioned, and that can be an exceptional environment for agricultural innovation because it combines extreme environmental constraints with capital, infrastructure, a strong global network, and also local food security priorities. And this is why I've focused my efforts in Africa, but through the GCC. Essentially, technologies proven in the GCC have the potential to become increasingly relevant for other regions facing similar challenges. For example, water shortage, extreme heat, salinity are all problems that are critical in the GCC and are becoming more pronounced in many other parts of the world. I believe in that for that reason that the GCC serves as both a commercial market, but also perhaps even more importantly, as a global validation platform. So it's undoubtedly true that large companies have proven to be excellent at optimizing in established markets in particular. What we would like to advocate is that MSMEs can excel at solving local problems in a way that larger companies perhaps can't. If they identify constraints, adapt technologies, reduce deployment risk, build partnerships, and scale proven solutions, they have an opportunity to carve out niches in areas where major international conglomerates wouldn't even consider. And for this reason, they can serve as a critical bridge between innovators, governments, investors, corporates, and producers. Experience suggests that in many cases, innovation fails not because technology is unavailable, but because commercialization fails. And this, I believe, is where MSMEs have a huge advantage because often they have a much better understanding of local challenges and what is possible within their local environment. So I'd like to finish with one simple thought, that innovation creates possibility, while in my view, MSMEs have the potential to create the real impact. Technology and innovation in and of itself doesn't create impact. And that's where I believe that MSMEs have potential. I believe that food security will not be transformed by a handful of breakthrough technologies or large businesses alone, while they are important, of course. I believe that primarily it will be transformed by thousands of MSMEs adapting, integrating, and deploying practical innovations at scale in their local markets. Helping producers move from open field to semi-protected agriculture, improving water management, which is becoming a global critical concern, reducing waste, and strengthening local value chains may deliver some of the largest productivity gains that are available today. Okay, so that's everything that I have today, for today rather. Hopefully some of those insights were useful. If anyone is interested, I'm very happy to share my slides. Feel free to ping me on LinkedIn or the email on the screen.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Nathan. I think you've also said that innovation creates possibility, and technology and innovation in and of itself doesn't create impact, right? And I think that is so true, because the strength of MSMEs together makes a big difference if you actually work together. So thank you so much for your time. It's been interesting to listen to you this evening. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.